Hello, welcome back to the next step. This is probably the part 9. So in here, we had a truss all the way for this particular structure. So where we have decided that putting the truss at the end of this gable will make it very hard for us to put cladding at the end of the gables. So we've decided just to place the portal frame both ends here so that we can now place our gable columns, then we place the cladding rails. Now, the next thing we are going to do now, prior to placing the gable columns, we have to modify our grid lines first, because you can see at the middle here we don't have a grid line that cut across. In here we don't have one. We only have one that's at the center of our grid line. Now double click on the grid line just to modify that. So in here, since from this end to this end is 7.5, what we're going to do, we are going to subdivide that by 2. We are going to divide by 2 so that we have that 750 here. So I'll change this to that 750. And how many grid lines do we need? We need 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So we'll change this to 5 instead of 3. So if we'll come here and put 5 right there. Apply and give it an OK. So you can see our grid line has shifted this end. So that one should not be a worry. What you're going to do, you're going to select everything here, then right click and come to move. We'll come to move special, then we'll move this way, because from this end to this end, this is that 750. So on the direction of x-axis, though we will be moving on the opposite direction, we'll just feed in here that 750. So the rest of xyz, x and y and z axis will remain at 0. So I'll go ahead and click move in that direction, and so we'll give it some time to copy, though it'll take some little bit of your time. I'll click move, then we'll give it some time to translate that in. Perfect. Our model has been copied into exact location of our grid line. Now, the next thing we're going to do, I'm going to close that move command. Then right click and interrupt to terminate that command. Now, to deselect this, just click anywhere on the screen to remove that selection. Now, we have a grid line here. So if we double click on the grid line once again, and you notice on the levels, we only have level up to 0, or only 0 level. So if we close that once again and double click on this column, you can see our column height is 5 meters. So we need to indicate that height, and also from the top of our column up to the apex, apex I mean from the top here up to here. If I just extend a line here, we'll have that height here. So that one we'll have to include there so that we have our 3 levels. Now I'll double click on the grid line once again, then come to levels here under Z axis. Now we have 0 level by default. Now we'll indicate the full height of our column, then add 2 meters, which will be 2 meters high from the top of a column to apex. That will be 2 meters. So 2 meters, we'll add that to make it 7 meters right there. So on the labels, you just add that so that when you modify the grid line, CommaSys will be able to add any letter that comes within A to Z, and will be added automatically. And on the y-axis will be added automatically when it still appears within 1 to 50. You can always adjust that to a number of your choice. Now, if I come here and add and click apply, you'll see these levels adding here. So let me just click that. You can see the levels are adding here. So if I come here and click OK, you can see we have levels in place. Our levels in place. You can see that we have this level at the column height, and we have that level at the apex. But as it is now, it's simply crowding our drawing or crowding our working area. So I'll go back and double click on the screen, on the grid, and just suppress this or hide that, apply and give it an OK, so that we just remain with the grid line at 0 level. Now, what do we do next? We have to create the views, because to create the gable columns accurately, we have to see the section side of this. We have to see the gable side of this particular model. So I'll click I'll click on the grid line, then right click and come to grids. Then I'll come to create views on grid. So if I click on that, I'll be able to create all these views. So I'll come to grid line 1 or view on line 1. I'll double click on that and I'll have this view in place. So as it is now, I cannot see the grid lines I've added, but that should not worry you. You can also see we have our height at 7 meters there. Now we want to add the grid lines at the gable, so that will help us in defining or in placing our gable columns. So I'll come to edit, then come to construction line. I'll click on construction line, then snap at the bottom end here, then move all the way to far end here and click on that. So I have my gable line there. I have my line there, so I can always extend this. Can always extend that. Now in here, I want to populate this along the x-axis with the 3.7 or the 750 interval. Now I'm going to select on that, right click and come to spatial copy here and click linear. Now and the x-axis, I'm going to I need five of them and click OK. Then I'll close that. So if you take a look, there are 5 of them, but in the opposite direction. Reason why, I'll just tell you that. I'll undo that, then come here and select once again, right click and come to copy spatial and linear. The reason why is because our 3750 has been prefixed with a negative sign, so it means it is moving in that direction. So instead of going inside the portal frame gable, or on the gable side, it's moving away away from it. Now I'll remove that negative sign and click copy. So this time round you'll find it in, but we forgot to include extra lines that are required. I'll click undo, then select on that, right click and come to spatial copy once again and click linear. So this time around I'll add them to before and click OK, then close that. So we have this in place. But if you take a look on our grid line is slightly shorter compared to because with reference to the apex, it's way off. Now let me just select these grid lines. Let me select these construction lines first, then double click on the last one. Then in here, I'll just give an extra extension of 1 point, just an extension of another 2 meters high. I'll click OK. Then this one also, I'll add it 2 meters there. Then click OK. Let me just add extra to make it slightly longer to cross over. So we have these in place. We have our lines crossing over. Now, from this side, from this way, we can now place our gable columns. I'll come to steel here and pick on the column. Then just snap on that spot and move all the way to that spot. So prior to, by default, it will pick, we have a default height of the columns. It will similar to this one. So to extend this, first of all, you have to check the distance remaining, then you go and add on the default height of the column. Now I'll right click and come to measure, then I'll snap on top here, then move all the way to this bottom end here and snap right there. You don't, before even snapping, you'll be able to see we have 772.3. So we'll just work with 772. So we'll add this 772 on 5,000 millimeters. So it will be 57, 52. So that's it. So if I double click on this member here and come here and add that 772, it will be 57, 72 here, and click OK. So if you click OK, it will stretch all the way to the bottom end of this rafter. So this member is HEA 300, which you don't want. So we'll double click on this member, then just copy this like that and close this. Then we double click on this member, double click on it, then we'll just paste this profile name here and click OK. So if you click OK, you'll be able to see it changing to that member size. So I'll come here and add another column here. So I'll come all the way to that spot and add another column, and always just double click in here because our copy command is still active. Just paste it there and click apply and give it an OK, and we check the distance between here and to the bottom end of this member. So what we are going to do is very simple. We are going to extend this member upward. So first of all, we have to know how far is it from the apex. I'll come to distance here and snap on that spot and move all the way to this far end here. And you can see it is 1538 or 1539. So we'll add that to 5. So it will be 6539. So we'll double click in here that way. So we make this 65 39. So that will make it reach at the bottom end of our apex. So we have another one here, and we can just copy this because with the same height. I'll come here and select on that, and come select on that and select this one here. So we have that in place. So that is connected. And if we switch back to isometric to auto model view, we just double click on the 3D view there, and we have that in place. So we want to copy these columns. So we just select on the columns like that. I click first of all to get off that command. We'll select that column, select that column, and select that column. So I'll right click and come to special copy here and pick on the linear. So I'll snap on the bottom end here and stretch all the way to this far end to add another gable columns on this end, and click copy. So once I click copy and zoom out, you'll be able to see we have some gable columns on this far end. So this way, we will be able to add cladding rails like this. So when we lay the sheets, it's really flashing well. But suppose we left the truss on this end, would have been a hell of work, and it won't look professionally done. Now we have the gable column here. Now, the connection at the gable side, I think that I had showed you before, and that one I'll show you. You will see how we move step by step on how to create that. So for now, let's meet on the next presentation, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel, and bye bye. Let's meet then.